The Hemp Wizard signature series artists are Walking Corpse Syndrome, So High, Black Sasquatch, Fester, You can give your beard the magic touch by going to hempwizard.net today and rock out with your... Just kidding.
Go out and march to victory. Go out and roll down that field as you destroy the enemy. Hail to the red, white, and blue as you conquer every foe. Fight, fight, Giants, get that ball and go, go Giants, go! Come on in.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
Good morning, fans, and welcome to the Sunday Audible, live from Sunday Audible Studios in beautiful, scenic Monroe, New Jersey. That's right, the scenic Monroe, New Jersey. Here on January 21st, it's not Super Wildcard Weekend anymore, folks. That's right. It's Division Round Series. That's right. 8 teams left vying for 2 spots. That's right. 8 teams, breaking it down to 4 for next weekend, and the final 2 teams on Super Bowl Sunday. I think that's February the 11th. 10th or the 11th coming up. And, guys, it was, I would say, a better than good weekend, maybe a great weekend of football last weekend. We had lots of great games. The last one wasn't so great. But we're going to touch on all of those games. We'll talk about this week's games and some of the NFL news coming up. I believe it's just going to be Johnny and myself this morning. Jeff's a little busy, so John and I will take you through about an hour and change of NFL football. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. I hope you guys have had a great week, and we're looking forward to another exciting hour of NFL analysis and insight from us. And we're really looking forward to really 4 great games this weekend. Should be 4 really good football games. So sit back and relax, and let's get the show started. And I can only do that by bringing on my man, the head honcho down at RFO Records and the top guy in the Pittsburgh area, wearing his Chiefs gear today. He's, of course, my buddy John Myhefko. Johnny boy.
Tommy, good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Divisional round, man.
Divisional round. Yeah. Crazy. We're at this point in the season. Seems like part of me feels like it's forever since this season started, and part of me feels like it went by in a blip. So I'm happy to be here, John, after a great weekend of football last week.
It was a great week too, Tommy. I mean, there was a lot of games that, we thought were going to be, kind of lopsided, and we saw a lot of really competitive games. There was 2 exceptions, but, it's always like that. But I was surprised that the Miami Dolphins hung with the Bills. That was my biggest surprise of the weekend.
Yeah, you know what, John? I would tell you that obviously, obviously that's got to go down as the biggest surprise. I'll put a second, but not a close second. The Bucs looking as bad as they did against the Cowboys, or maybe the Cowboys looking as good. But you're right, that Bills Dolphins game was just off the charts crazy. I mean, when you look at it, it should have been a blowout the way the Dolphins were playing. They're down to their third string quarterback, who, by the way, played pretty well and really did represent himself well. I think they lost that game because of the coaching staff, John. I mean, lots of mismanagement, timeouts in bad spots, not knowing down and distance after the ball was spotted. I'm not blaming it on the players, although Waddle had a terrible start to that game. I'm putting this one squarely on Mike McDaniel, and it's going to lead me into a quick segue on coaching nowadays. But what was your thoughts watching that game?
I thought that too. I was surprised. I mean, the pre-snap penalties as well was another thing that really killed those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're going down the field, you're looking at multiple plays ahead to call, at the line of scrimmage or in a huddle, if you're going to do like a mock huddle or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
To be that disorganized, was really.
Last chance for the Steelers. Bradshaw.
Sorry about that.
I like that. You can do that on, man.
Yeah, I got it. Just I was switching screens, and for some reason that popped up. But go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, like I said, the pre-snap penalties, the mismanagement of the clock is really what ended that for the Dolphins right there, and it was sad to see. I know you and I both, had the Bills going all the way this year. Yeah. I believe you did in the AFC, and I'm starting to scratch my head a lot with that team. I mean, there's so much talent there, so much to to play for. I mean, this is their time. Their window is here. It's open. Some of the things that they're doing is really surprising to me, and especially the turnovers, the bad turnovers.
Yeah.
That I've been seeing. Hopefully they're going to correct that today. And we'll see, Tommy.
Well, you know what, John? There's a couple things for me from that game, and I want to stick to the Bills for a little bit on this because, you're right. Both of us have picked them early on. I picked them last year to win it. I thought had they gotten past that Chief game, they would. I thought they would get there. But John, we've said this 100 times on this show and on the other show. There's a shelf life to these teams. You start to lose certain plays, you start to lose coaching, and don't think for a second that the Bills losing Brian Dable might have been a bigger impact than we thought. On that offense. And the Bills, while they won their division, while they're in the divisional round of the playoffs and in our favorite today, John, not for nothing, this is not the same Bills team we watched last year or maybe even the year before. There's definitely some chinks in the armor here, and we'll get to the picks for today's games later. But if I'm a Bills fan or if I'm a guy picking the Bills or I bet the Bills, I wouldn't be so super confident going into this game today.
No, I'm not confident either, Tommy. And and you know what? I don't think we've yet to see the best of the Bengals yet. I saw last week, we looked at it was a divisional game. We got a very experienced Ravens team. Maybe not at the quarterback position, but I thought, Huntley played well enough, to get the job done. And if it wasn't for that fumble at the goal line, going back for the, the fumble return for the touchdown, that's a different game there. So hopefully we're going to see the best of these two teams today, because I think, these two teams right now are the AFC to me.
I agree.
Besides the Chiefs, obviously, I mean, I can't see a way that Jacksonville wins that unless there's a lot of turnovers, but we'll get to that later.
We didn't think the Bengals were going to win last year either when they beat the Chiefs. Right. Don't forget, Mahomes had that second half meltdown. And so I right now in this playoffs, I want to get to all the games, but there's been some meltdowns or there's been some bad play. I mean, the Chargers shit the bed in the second half last week. Just lots of obviously we've been talking about the Dolphins and Bills. Today going to that game, I'm a big believer in chemistry and momentum in these games. And right now the Chiefs, while they played much better than I expected this year with the loss of Tyreek Hill and all of that, I would not be super confident. And, I got to tell you, not that I'm rooting for either team at this point, but it would not kill me to see a really good football game. And I know nobody wants to see the Jaguars in the AFC Championship game. But you know what? I want the teams that play in best. That's what the bottom line is. I don't care what the jerseys say. I don't care what the hell, unless it's an NY on it. I could care less. I just want to see really good football.
Right. Yeah, I think we will too, Tommy. I mean, I think these are the best teams. With the surprise to me of Jacksonville, and
Yeah.
like you said, the meltdown of the Chargers.
Oof.
I mean, and this is something we see over and over and over again. In the history of that organization, these guys just can't get over the hump. They
Oof.
can't play well in a big game, and to give up a 27-point lead.
Oh, and you just saw it coming. Like it's funny. I watched the early game, and then my wife wanted to watch a movie, so I said, I thought it would be a short, quick one, but for some reason, it ate up most of the first half of the football game. So I turned it on. It was halftime, and it was 27-0. And at that moment, you go, do I invest myself in this? So I happened to be sitting at the desk, and I had it on the TV, but I really wasn't watching. I just had it on, and I was doing some work. And I kept looking up, and I kept looking. Next thing I know, I'm watching the game because they're inching their way back. And the funny part was, it's let's see, it's 30-20, right? It's 30-20, and they scored a touchdown, and now it's 30-26.
Right.
And I guess there's a penalty, and now they're going for the 2-point conversion at the 1-yard line. And I said, I hated the call. I absolutely hated the call. And I don't know if we were texted at that point, but I was texting with somebody, and I said, make it or not, I hate this call, because if you don't get it, you need a touchdown to win this game instead of taking the tie. And I get what he was trying to do. He had the momentum, and listen, it all worked out, because now he gets the 2-pointer and he kicks the field goal to win the game instead of tying the game and taking a chance on overtime. But to me, there seems to be an awful lot of that in the NFL today. I mean, just guys going for 4th downs in their own end of the field. I mean, the Giants did it. They were 4th and 2 on their own side of the field with like 8 minutes left. I didn't understand it. They got it, but John, it's really an interesting time in the NFL where teams just don't like to punt.
It does seem like that too, Tommy. We've been seeing that over the last few years. And I think there's a lot of things that play into that, with Jacksonville's decision. I think, I would have kicked the extra point personally. I was really surprised that they did that. But you look at the history of that organization, and I mean, they are, they really have the gun to their head to win. You get to that point, you need to put teams away.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were looking at. And if you think of, how about Dallas with Maher and all the missed field goal, extra points.
Oof.
Insane.
I've
never seen anything like it.
But I've seen guys miss multiple extra points in the game, but 4 straight, never. I don't think if you and I went out there, we could miss 4 straight.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was bad, and what was crazy about it, he was hitting the ball the same exact way.
Yeah,
he didn't get any hook or anything on it.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
If you're the Cowboys going into this game and your life depends on an extra point or a field goal, you definitely got to be holding your heart in your hand. I'm sorry, it's got to weigh in this guy's mind that the other team's going to be letting him hear it. Sure enough, this might be the one time in the world. I agree with freezing the kicker. That's going to be an interesting decision. If at a critical point in the game, over 2 minutes, and you need a field goal to tie, but you're in a weird spot, in the field, whether they'll go for it or kick the actual field goal. I'd have to think, if you're McCarthy, and I kind of think his job's on the line. I think you got to think about that, putting that guy out there.
Right. Now, what if it comes down to, this is a grass field again, it's, say it's under 2 minutes, like you said, and, the clock winding and no timeouts, and he needs an extra point, either to win the game or tie the game. How are you feeling down there? I mean, what if you're, are you going to try to go for 2? I mean, what if he misses, multiple extra points in the game or a field goal in the game?
Yeah. Listen, I didn't agree with getting rid of the guy necessarily because, he's been there all year. He's been pretty good. Right. Bringing another kicker in cold, isn't really the answer either. But I think if you're the Cowboys and he's lined up with your season on the line, that's a tough. That's one you turn your back and you kneel because you just got to hope.
That's it.
You turn around and you hear the right crowd noise. So, but I want to get back to the coaching thing that we were just talking about, and it seemed to me that Mike McDaniel was a little in over his head. Now I think as the season's gone on, he's been exposed a little bit. Everybody thought he was boy wonder, boy genius. What's up, Louie? I thought It was a good, good season, good rookie season. He had Tua playing well, but when it started to crash, he had no answers. And in last week's game, he looked overwhelmed. Now, John, here's the thing I'm going to talk to you about. It seems like everybody who's getting a interview, D'Amico Ryans, Aaron Glenn, all these guys are 2-year coordinators. What happened to putting the time in? Mike Kafka, just was a graduate, a coach 6 years ago. It's his first season. And let me tell you something, the Giant offense wasn't great. I think he did a nice job. But they're giving these guys, like, they're looking for the next boy genius instead of looking for, I'm sorry, I don't want to, look for the next Brian Dable. I mean, look,
right.
There's a guy who's been a coach for 25 years. He's been a coordinator all over the league. He's got some experience, and it showed. All these guys are coming in with no experience. Nathaniel Hackett, Saleh has not done a good job. John, why is it so important to these guys to grab a guy who's been an offensive or defensive coordinator for 2 years?
I don't know, Tommy. That's a good question. I think we don't see what these interviews are like either. I mean, some of these guys are probably really good, in the interview process, and they bring them in and say, "Hey, man, this is our guy." You brought up D'Amico Ryans, a guy like that.
Yeah,
D'Amico Ryans has done a fantastic job with that defense.
Yeah,
but like you said, we're only looking at 2 years here. Does this guy have enough? Has he shown enough? To be able to coach an entire team and be the face of that organization. I think that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and you're not just coaching the team. You're everything from uniform colors. How much to cut the grass. I mean, you have every decision on your back, and you've never done it at any level. And I don't even care if you're a head coach in this league. All I'm saying is you got to put the time and effort in and see everything that happens during the game. And I'm sorry, Mike Kafka sitting up in the stadium in the luxury box, calling plays. I'm not sure that makes him a head coach. Now, he may turn out to be a fantastic head coach. I don't know. But all I know is most of these guys seem to flame out and get into games. I watched the Jets this year, and there were plenty of games where you looked up and this guy was leaving timeouts on the board or making bad decisions constantly. And I don't think he handled the whole Mike White, Zach Wilson thing properly. So, I just don't understand that these guys that, you've seen so many of these guys come in and flame out and just, and guys who are experienced college coaches like Kingsbury and Matt Rule couldn't last. So I don't know what the answer is, but to grab a guy like Mike Kafka, and he's got 3 interviews set up, requests, once they get through the season or into a spot where he can. Thank you, honey. But at the end of the day, you're wasting your money by trying to make this happen with a guy with no experience. I'm not talking head coaching experience, just no coaching experience.
Right. I'll tell Mrs. Florio I said hi. I didn't get to say it when she came in.
That's fine. I'll let her. She just dropped. I have to eat at certain points of my day, so I'm just snacking on a little something right now. So
no problem, Tommy. But yeah, with the coaching, maybe these teams look at it. We want to get a young guy in there, because he kind of fits the mentality of what these players are like nowadays. They kind of relate more to it. D'Amico Ryans, he has experience in the NFL as a player, now as a defensive coordinator, but he's also, a fairly younger guy too. He may be able to mesh with these players. And I would think that these organizations, if you're going to bring in a guy that's young like that, with the shelf life of an NFL coach nowadays, you don't see too many Mike Tomlins or Andy Reids or guys like that, that stick around for a while.
Yeah.
Bringing in that young guy, maybe they look at, hey, is this something that we're going to ride with this guy, for a long period of time, and is he going to be able to do it? But like I said, Tommy, I would rather have the guy in there, especially if I have a good, a good team already put together where we just need a couple pieces.
Yeah,
bring in the experienced guy.
I agree with you. I mean, listen, the Jim Harbaughs of the world maybe overdone. I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Jim Harbaugh, but to me, to bring in an Aaron Glenn or a D'Amico Ryans or some of these other guys who come, Mike Kafka, who have zero real experience as a coach, I think it's a recipe for disaster. And yes, Finelli, go Giants. Hold on a second. I'm gonna play a little something for Finelli. Give me a second. Hold on.
I like that intro, Tommy.
Hold on a second. In case everybody missed it.
Go, Giants, go! Go out and march to victory! Go out and roll down that field as you destroy the enemy. Hail to the red, white, and blue as you conquer.
Go Giants, go! You gotta love a song like that. You gotta love a song like that, John.
Boy, you really went into the archives for that one, man.
It was either that or the 1986 Super Bowl Shuffle song, which I just couldn't play. I just couldn't do it. The Giants version, that was pretty brutal. So good for you, Finale. He'll be out there watching Giants again. We got the Giants tonight, folks. We'll get to a lot of that talk right after 9:30. And again, remember, this show is sponsored by our dear friends at the Sunday Audible, who have provided us with our own fresh-scented beard care product. That's right, the Sunday Audible. It's peach, vanilla, and leather, and it smells delicious on your beard. I don't have one, neither does John, but Jeff tells us it smells delicious. So make sure you follow and support our friends over at Hemp Wizard and visit their site at hempwizard.net for their beautiful line of skincare and beard care products. So, Johnny boy, so let's get to a couple other games from last weekend as we march toward talking about this weekend's games. So we talked about the Chargers game a little bit. I want to talk about a little bit the Bengals and the Ravens. Again, here's the thing about the Bengals and Ravens. You know, they played the week before. They played twice this year.
Right.
Here's a game where just, the Ravens just said, I'm going to come out there and knock the shit out of you, and I don't care if, what else happens, but I'm just going to try to win by brute force. And the problem is the same problem that's plagued the Bengals for a couple of years now. They have to protect the quarterback, and they did so with 3 of their offensive linemen out of the game.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the key things to focus on today, is those guys having that many injuries on the offensive line. I mean, Buffalo has a really good defense. They're able to bring the pressure, and that's going to be one of the key things I'm going to see with Burrow, is like, how's he going to handle the pressure? And I think he has done, very well.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 seasons.
Oh,
I mean,
he's carried the team base a bit, as amazing as it was. Yeah.
Right. And that's a team right there that has, so many weapons on that offense. I think that's going to be the one key thing. Are they going to be able to get the Burrow to knock that rhythm out? What's Buffalo going to do? How are they going to come in? Especially if it's a situation where, you see the turnover bug hit again. These guys are going to be able to overcome that in a big game. I think this is going to be a fantastic game, Tommy. I can't wait to sit and watch this.
Yeah, this is going to, this is absolutely going to be a fantastic game. I'm a little surprised that it's the early game. I don't know if this is predetermined slots. Maybe when they're bargaining for the TV rights, or if this gets decided after who wins and who loses. But the fact that this game, I mean, I understand the Chiefs Jaguars being the early game on today because it's the Jaguars. I still think that's going to be a fantastic game for some reason. But the Bills and the Bengals being the 3 o'clock, why is that? Are the Cowboys that important to be on at 6 o'clock on Sunday night? I mean, it's to me, give me the marquee matchup. People are running around all afternoon. They're coming home at night to have their dinner. Now they're sitting in front of TV. Give me the best game. I mean, that's really the way you're looking at it.
I think that comes down to Jerry Jones and the influence of that organization. I mean, like I said, putting these guys on prime time all the time. Like last weekend we talked about it again. Brady, Dallas. It just seems like but that's the way the NFL has always been. You take care of those teams that you feel have more influence. I don't even want to get into that right now. So but it's just it amazes me. I would rather see, if this was Dallas, in the heyday against the 49ers in a heyday, then yeah, I could see that. But you got, Brock Purdy, rookie quarterback. Dallas has kind of been, you don't know what Dallas team you're going to get. I mean, I picked them last week as I knew that they had that core there, and I was waiting for that explosion, and it happened. But this is I don't know. It's a head scratcher to me, Tommy.
I'd even go as far as to say the Bills-Bengals should be tonight's game, 8:30 prime time. I mean, I love the Giants, and I'm happy it's on. Don't get me wrong, but to me, if you're picking the marquee matchup of the weekend, that's it. I mean, no Cowboys Niners from years past. I get it, but you have no idea. But let's get to the Cowboy Tampa game for a lot of reasons. I mean, one was a complete reversal of where the Cowboys have been the last few weeks.
Right.
It's pretty much where the Bucks have been a good part of the season, and especially late. And you always, you're always waiting for the big Tom Brady comeback. But what you're seeing is Tom Brady, while still a better than average, better than most quarterback in this league, quarterback is not the same quarterback he was 2 years ago. And now he needs help. Now we'll get to Tom Brady's situation right after, but watching that game, exactly what happened when the season ended. They're going to tear this team apart, tear it down. They got rid of him. Leftwich is gone. They got rid of half the coaching staff. Only for whatever reason, Todd Bowles has found a way to remain, and I'll never understand it. I think Todd Bowles is a fantastic defensive coordinator, but John, how does Todd Bowles managed to stay on after basically the entire coaching staff has been, and now you're going to let him bring another coaching staff in. So that means he's got at least 2 more years on to fix this.
Right. You're looking at a team that was if Cooper Kupp doesn't have that crazy day that he did at the end of that game last year, Tampa's in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
So they were one, a few plays away again. And then to come into this season, I was really shocked by a lot of the things that I saw watching this team. Inability to run the football was one thing.
Yeah.
And Brady just so far out of sync. And I don't know if it was with his receivers. I mean, he played with these guys last year. I mean, there's a chemistry, especially with him and Mike Evans. There was a few, bright spots that game against Carolina, but the passes that are in the dirt, the throwing behind receivers. Is it something that the reason is he didn't have Rob Gronkowski as his check down? Like I was, in the text we were talking about.
Yeah.
What was missing here? I mean, something was missing.
It's Brady, John. It's Brady. He's just, he's 45. It's the end of another long season. The guy's got a million things on his mind: divorce, new girlfriends, kids.
Right.
I just think that, where last year, that split second, he's throwing the ball. If you look at it, he's getting rid of the ball super early because he doesn't trust his offensive line, and he doesn't want to get hit. So to me, it's almost a simple thing. Tom Brady's gotten old, and it's just a little short. I mean, look at the pass in the end zone for the interception. To me, that changed the whole game.
Right.
Throw that ball away. You score a touchdown there. That's a different football game. But at that moment, everybody in the stadium was dejected. I mean, how does he not throw? If you're throwing a ball away, how do you not aim for the cheap seats?
Right. And if you watch that play too, Tommy, I mean, he had his head turned. Yeah. It almost looked like he was just, like a rookie would do.
Correct. And again, it just comes down to, I think he's making decisions quicker because he's trying to account for a lot of things. And one part of it is just getting a little old. And listen, the guy's going to be 46 years old soon. I mean, I'd like to be half as good a shape as a guy in, but the reflexes, everything's still got to be a little slower. And I think what you're seeing right now is kind of the what we saw from Peyton Manning at the end, where you have that drop off. And, I think Tom Brady will be back next year if he can wind up in a spot where it's a team that just needs a really good quarterback, not a great quarterback. A guy who can manage the game, keep him out of trouble, run the football really well. I don't know, on top of my head. I mean, I'd love to see him in Miami, and I think they're going to be looking. I can't imagine they're not looking for a quarterback this year, John.
Right.
there's other teams. I mean, I don't after this postseason, I can't for the life of me think. Yeah, I'm done. I can't think for the life of me that San Francisco will be looking for a quarterback. I just got a feeling they're gonna roll the dice with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. You know what I mean?
think so. I think so too. What's funny is I was listening to the NFL channel on Sirius in the car the other day, and this guy's brought up a good point. I mean, Tom Brady is still better than 75% of the
Correct.
quarterbacks in this league.
Correct, but
At
is he good enough
45, 46.
But is he good enough to get you to the Super Bowl by himself? That's the question, and he's not. It's not the
Right.
Patriot
I
years.
agree.
This is not a couple years ago, where he dragged that team to the Super Bowl again. He needs to be surrounded now by a lot of talent.
Right.
That's
I
why.
totally agree.
Yeah, that's why Miami, to me, he's got the running game. He's obviously got the receivers for it. They got a decent enough defense. I've heard the Panthers, the Saints. None of it makes any sense to me.
No, he does. He needs a solid core around him.
Yeah.
And he needs a defense that's going to be, solid year through it. You don't want to be, getting into games where it's shootouts, 38, 35 games. You want to be able to control the football. And I think one of the key things, watching Tom Brady his entire career, you need to have a good tight end that's a good pass catching tight end.
Yes.
On that team.
Yeah, he's always had it.
Right. I mean, that guy is always the mismatch. And then that's when I look at a Darren Waller. What would Darren Waller do in Vegas with a guy like Tom Brady?
Yeah,
I think it would be amazing.
That it makes a lot of sense. I mean, with obviously with McDaniels there, his old offensive coordinator. If they're going to keep Devontae Adams, obviously you're right, Waller, who's been a little. I think a little disappointing this year. It wasn't
Right.
Wasn't a great year for him, but now Carr's gone. Maybe there just wasn't a chemistry there. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Tom Brady. And guys, you watching the Sunday Audible right here on a Saturday morning. Sorry, Sunday Audible on a Saturday morning. We're getting ready for divisional play. We got 2 games today. You got the Chiefs and Jags and Giants and Eagles. Sorry, and then tomorrow Bills, Bengals, and the 6:00 nightcap of it all will be the Cowboys and the Niners. So stick around for some more. We got a lot still to get to. We'll talk about all the games today and a little bit more on the thing. But, so the question becomes, John, we'll end the books on this. They've stripped the whole team down. Going to get a whole new coaching staff. I'm sure a lot of players like Fournette, some of those guys, maybe Mike Evans, some of those guys might not be back next year. Any chance Tom Brady goes back?
I don't know, Tommy. That's a really tough question. I mean, if he does go back, you're looking at working with a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Which it takes time to It takes time to develop that.
Yeah.
I think my personal opinion, either Brady is going to retire, which I don't think he will, but I think he's going to go to a team like the Raiders. It's going to be somebody that's going to be, looking for more than just a quarterback. Of that caliber. You're looking for a guy that's going to bring in fans.
Yeah.
And Vegas, it's kind of like a mishmash right there because of where it is. You have the Raiders, the Oakland Raider fans coming in. You have the LA fans coming in. You bring a guy in like Tom Brady. I think that's a good fit there.
I agree with you, and I think it has to be a team like that. And to me, it's one of those things like if you're the Raiders and you can go and draft a young quarterback or grab a young quarterback in the league, whoever, and sit him on the bench for a year behind Tom Brady, let him work with him. And we all know it's Tom Brady's a year. If at most, I can't imagine it's 2, but I think it's 1. And that's a guy, if you're the Dolphins, if you're the Raiders, if there's a couple teams, to me also, if the Niners lose today, then to me, you have to think about it also to put Tom Brady out there and you have those 2 young quarterbacks behind him and learn from them. That's where it makes sense. But if you're Tom Brady and you're going to come back and you're going to be, I've heard the Texans as a name, unless you're telling me you're going to find a way to really build up that team. To me, if you're Tom Brady, you can't go to one of those situations.
No, he has all the cards too. I mean, he could decide where he wants to go if he wants to come back. I mean, the guy, it amazes me too. I mean, just, at that age to continue to play at that level that he does. I mean, things were out of sync this year, obviously, But I mean, the guy still has the arm.
Yeah.
He still makes all the throws. It's just, I don't know what was missing this year. I think it was the mental thing, like you just said earlier in the show.
I think there's a lot to it. So again, we'll get. So again, the other thing from the Dallas side, was that the real Cowboys? Did we see the real Cowboys in that game, or was it the Cowboy? I mean, Dak before that was horrendous. 15 interceptions this year. I think he had 7 straight games with it, with at least one. A few with multiple. This was not a good Cowboy team down the stretch, but they look like Super Bowl champs in that one. So, were the Bucs that bad? Were the Cowboys that good? I think we'll get a lot of answers tomorrow night at 6:00.
I think all this falls on Dak Prescott. He goes, they go how he goes. I mean, it's if he starts throwing the interceptions and making the bad decisions. Tommy, that team has all the pieces.
Yep.
You have 2 excellent running backs. Excellent receiving core. I mean, Dalton Schultz, dominated that game against Tampa. I mean, they had no answer for him. They couldn't get any pressure on Prescott. Prescott made a ton of good throws in that game. So really today, I think there's more pressure on him than there is on the 49ers.
Yeah, if you're the 49ers, you got to be thrilled. I mean, you lose your starting quarterback, then you lose Garoppolo, and then now you're down to Brock Purdy, who Mr. Irrelevant, number 200 and something, 60 something, and he looks like a world beater. Now they've done a good job managing him. You see most of his throws are quick. He's got great receivers and people to hand the ball off to. You see when he gets in trouble, he gets flushed, and he always seems to go out to his left, and he starts to backpedal away from the offensive line. Next year we got to get a telestrator, and he throws going to his left off his back foot, and that's when he starts to get in trouble. But I'm curious to see if this game gets tight, or if he starts to get hit a lot, or they start to really jump the routes on him. If how he handles that, because if he does, boy oh boy, they might have found the next Tom Brady. I mean, I'm not putting him at a 7-time Super Bowl champ, but I'm saying you're finding a guy. Tom Brady was 199 and we celebrated. If they find a guy who was that guy at 260 something, boy oh boy, that's not bad.
And he really has the team around him to be successsul. I mean, you bring in Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to be handing the ball to this guy or just throw it to him?
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's he's going to get a lot of touches today. I could guarantee that, like he always does. But I think even, more so in the passing game.
Yeah.
Because he's a huge weapon, and he opens it up for everybody else too.
Yep. No doubt about
it. That's what helps Purdy, so much.
Oh yeah, 100%. I want to get to the Giant game from last weekend, and then we'll get into all of our games for this weekend. Again, you're joining John Marhevka, Tom Florio on the Sunday Audible. Jeff took the week off again. We'll hopefully get him back next week. Remember, guys, there's no Hard Rocket Sports Show this Thursday night. So if you want to get our take on this week's games, you got to come back here next Saturday for all that fun. So. So John, we're getting down to it, but let's talk the Giants and the Vikings from last weekend. And I wasn't surprised by the outcome. I wasn't surprised by the way the game played. I was surprised at how well the Giants played. I would have thought the Vikings would have played a worse game for the Giants to win. But to me, Jeff poo-pooed me a little bit, but I thought Daniel Jones had a historic game. 301 yards on 24-35, 78 yards rushing, but just the way he was able to get first downs or move the chains with his legs, with the arm, and the way the receivers played, John, it was as good a football game for the Giants as I've seen in got to be a decade.
I agree, Tommy. I was very impressed, and what we saw with this, it's the playoff game, and everything on the line. Yep. He's away. I mean, the kid had so much poise, made the big throws when he needed to, used his legs when he needed to.
Yeah.
And just, I thought the whole team, really played excellent. I give that, to the coaching staff and what Dable did. It was fantastic. Really was.
Yeah, it was a great job by both coordinators. I thought the defense settled down after the first drive. Again, couple small mistakes by the Giants. Probably could have put this game more early if they had the offside penalty in the red zone after Jones scored on the play and had to call it back. They wound up with the field goal. It was a 20-play, 11-minute drive that ended in a field goal. But again, a great performance by the Giants, and one I expected them to win this game because I thought they matched up really, really well with the Vikings. The secondary, dig, Pete D'Agostino. I thought, that the Vikings were exactly what they were. The one thing I didn't expect, though, was them to shut down Jefferson the way they did, especially after the way he started. He came out looking, caught every pass.
Right. I think they what was crazy at the end of this season, you saw the last 2 or 3 games, Justin Jefferson getting taken out of the game.
Yeah.
I think that was something that Minnesota kind of counted on, because that opened it up for everybody else. You didn't see as much of Adam Thielen. Hawkinson got involved more. It's just it was amazing to me that those guys were able to shut him down. Kind of like the way Green Bay did.
Yeah,
knocking him out of the game. I mean, it's
what to me though in most of these games, and you can get away with this with guys like Kittle and Kelsey, but when your second best receiver is your tight end, it makes it a little harder. Osborne was okay. I get it. He had a decent game, but when you take Jefferson out and you don't have that other guy, that steps up and you're relying on your tight end, to me, it just falls a little short. But yeah, I was a little surprised that they were able to take him out of the game. I think, I mean, he wound up with 40-something yards for the game, and
right.
which was amazing because I think he caught the first 4 or 5 passes for the game. But
he did.
It was a great job by the defense. They played well. They shut down Cook. And, they managed to move the ball with Hawkinson, but it wasn't the same. And I will say that I feel bad for Cousins because I thought he played a good game, but he's going to be remembered for throwing the ball 2 yards on 4th and 8. And if to me at that point you throw the ball for Jefferson and hope for the best if that's the best option you got. But I guess at that point he was just hoping he'd break a tackle and gain 8 yards.
Yeah, that was that last play was that was really a head scratcher because I could see if it was to somebody that was elusive, it was throwing it to Jefferson.
Oh, you're getting it,
or a guy like that. You throw it to the tight end out in the flat. It's almost like a telephone pole.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it, and it made no sense. But I'll feel bad for Cousins because I thought he played a good game. I didn't think he made a ton. I didn't think he made any mistakes. And the Giant defense played really well, and their offense was on fire with Jones. So it's no knock on him, but I think the Giants. I expected the Giants to win. I didn't expect it to be Giants 31. I just never expected them to put those kind of points on the board, at least offensively. Had it, they scored a couple of touchdowns on defense. You can't account for that, but a good win by the Giants. And if the season ended on that, John, I'd be thrilled and I'd be going. But you get into now. Are we playing with house money? Or what? How much do you put on today's game? And to me, it's a lot. And we're going to get to today's games in a minute. But at this point in time, as a Giant fan, it's been a long time. I mean, 10 years since I got to watch a game like that. It was a lot of fun.
They looked really good too, Tommy. I mean, like you said, even if they don't get past today, which we'll talk about that later. There's so many things that came out of this season. I mean, you were looking for answers to questions like, is Daniel Jones the guy?
Right.
Is Saquon Barkley, everything that we thought he was going to be, coming in as a rookie, with the injuries and everything else. And these guys really, put it together. And that says a lot for not only what they did this season, but in the next 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, we got a team here that's going to be extremely competitive in the NFC.
Yeah, all signs pointing up for the Giants. And regardless of how today's game goes, as a Giant fan, I'm extremely excited about next season already. So we got an off season now, and maybe a little more cap space and a little more room, and we'll get rid of some of the dead space. But that's for another show and another day. Today we're breaking down the division round for the NFL playoffs. We got 2 games today. Starts off 3:00 on, I believe it's CBS. That would be the Chiefs and the Jaguars, followed by Fox game 8 o'clock tonight. Giants and the Eagles from the Link, the House of Horrors, as the Giants should be calling it. And then, of course, tomorrow you are up at Orchard Park with the Buffalo Mafia at 3:00 I believe that is also a CBS. No, that is an NBC game, I believe. And then tomorrow, I gotta check I gotta check on the times on
Four,
the
4:30 for Kansas City and Jacksonville.
yeah, and I don't know if that's an NBC game. Hold on, I think I got it on my sheet here somewhere. I got it on my call sheet.
I think it is NBC.
No, actually, let me start all over, guys. So you got NBC today, Saturday, 4:30. Chiefs, Jaguars, Giants are off Fox, 8:30 tonight. Bengals, Bills, 3:00 tomorrow on CBS. And then, of course, Cowboys, Niners, 6:30 tomorrow night on Fox. So lots of good football games to tune in. So, John, let's get started with today's. I'm going to hold the Giants to last if you don't mind. But we're going to do. We'll start with the Chiefs and the Jaguars today. Again, 4:30 on NBC. Interesting matchup. If we're seeing the second half of last week's Jaguars versus the Chiefs, it should be a very good game. And I love the way they came back. They showed some fight. I'm not a fan of Doug Peterson. I think he's a dick, but a very well coached game. He made definitely made some questionable decisions, but they all worked out for him. But if we see the first half Jaguars, I would imagine this game would be a blowout. You cannot have Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 interceptions. You can't put the ball on the ground, and you got to score points. If this Jaguar thinks they're going to come back the way they did against the Chargers today, they're sadly mistaken. This game will be a blowout. I guess I'll make my pick right now. I like the Chiefs to win this one. I think it'll be fairly close, but I think when push comes to shove, it's 9 points. I think the Chiefs will cover this game. I like the Chiefs by probably 10 or better.
I agree, Tommy. I mean, I think in the beginning of the game, you're going to see, having that week off sometimes. I mean, I know the guys, they love it. Everybody's rested and everything, but you still have to knock off some rust. You're practicing, obviously, but you're not playing at, game speed. I think it's going to be, a little bit of time before the Chiefs get it. But I think, they're going to cover the spread. I can't see them losing in Kansas City. And I think you're going to see, the young Jacksonville team break under this kind of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're the Jaguars, I don't think you can get into a game where Trevor Lawrence has to go shot for shot with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I agree with you, Luke. The visor alone, it makes him a dick. I agree. I couldn't agree with you more on that. You wear a visor on the silent of an NFL game, you're just a dick. And I won't even bring up what he did with the Giants a couple years ago, trying to get in the playoffs, and he pulled his team at halftime essentially, so the Cowboys or the Redskins would win, whatever it was. But yeah, Doug Peterson's done a great job. I mean, anybody would after Urban Meyer, but he's done a good job. But he's a dick for wearing the visor. But so I mean, it's going to come down to the quarterbacks as it usually does. But if it does, I just have a hard time believing Trevor Lawrence is going to keep up with the Chiefs. But again, I saw the Chiefs fold in the second half last year, so this would not surprise me. But I don't see it this week. I'm sticking with my pick. I love the Chiefs. Late score puts it away. I can see this being almost a 2-touchdown final, but that's where I'm headed with it. So John and I are both on the same page. Chiefs over the Jaguars, 4:30 today.
Tommy, they're winning differently too this year. I mean, it's not they don't have the Tyreek Hill. They're more Jerick McKinnon and. And the receivers making plays, with a shorter passing game.
Yep.
And it all comes down to Mahomes. I mean, the way this guy plays is ridiculous. I mean, he makes all the throws. Even if he's blindfolded, I think he makes the throws.
I agree, but sometimes that could get, and that got him in trouble last year in the Bengal game. Sometimes he has to learn, pull the ball down and slide, or throw it away. And there's too many times he tries to make these crazy passes, and you get in games like this, and it's a little tight, and just off a little bit between you and the receiver, and it changes the outcome of the game, and you can't have it. I don't expect it today. I think this will be close. I think the Chiefs aren't as good as maybe last year or maybe even the year before, but they're still a good team, and I'll have a hard time believing the Jaguars will beat them. So we'll see how that one plays out. John, let's move on to tomorrow's first game. That's a 3:00. I can't imagine what this is, the 3:00 game tomorrow, but okay. This is the the rematch of the game that was canceled due to the Damar Hamlin episode, and I gotta believe he shows up tomorrow. I mean, I really thought that they were going to go on a run after that, kind of inspired. Let's put it together. Let's go. And they haven't. This does not look like the same Bills team from last year, especially the year before. I said it before. I thought Dable's moving on really has hurt that offense a little bit more than I expected it to. But they're still a dangerous team. But the fact that Miami hung in there, Miami scored so many points on them, this is a tough matchup. And I love the way Joe Burrow is just Joe Burrow. He might be the coolest guy in the league. I don't know. I'm not a fan of his stylish wear and his hats and his glasses, right. But he just, he don't care. To me, he just thinks he's the best quarterback in the league. He just ain't said it out loud yet.
Yeah, I mean, the kid's poised. And I agree with you too, Tommy. I mean, the outfits and everything are ridiculous. I mean, only Jeff will like this. Only Joe Namath can pull that off, in my opinion.
Yeah, there you go.
But it just amazes me with the offensive line issues that team has had. How this guy just continues to, sit in the pocket, make the plays, make the throws. He has a lot of weapons.
Yep.
There's a lot of guys that people don't speak of. I mean, Irwin is an excellent receiver. He's their fourth receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy makes big catches in key moments, and it says a lot for, the way that team is built.
Yeah, here's what I love about them. I love the way they run the football. They just don't do it enough.
Right.
And I think their defense is better than most people think. And I really, I've been tossing on this one all week, and I did it the other night, so I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to take the Bengals. They're dogs on the road, 5.5 points. But I'm going to take them on a money line today. I think the Bengals are going to find a way to win this game. I just think this is kind of the end of the road a little bit for this Bills team. I think there's going to be a change in some, not the coach or the quarterback or any of the main parts, but I think there's a retooling that's needed for this team. They need to run the ball better consistently. This could easily be a Bills win. I won't argue, but I just have this thought that the Bengals are going to take this one. I like the way they're playing. They got confidence. And they fooled me. I thought, especially early part of the season, John, that they had slipped back. And I think I farthest from it. I think their offensive, they can explode on anybody with that talent. So I'm picking the Bengals on the road to win this one.
This is a tough one too, Tommy. I've been on the fence with this all week. Watching both of these teams and seeing the way they played last week. I think really what this comes down to is the turnovers. Who's going to win that battle? And I think Buffalo, everything to win for at home. With the Hamlin incident and the everything that surrounds that.
Yep.
This team needs to come out, and this team needs to set the precedent early. I think Miami had a lot of familiarity with Buffalo. Playing them twice a year. I think that played a lot into it. I think Buffalo might have kind of looked past that game a little bit.
100%. There's no way in the world that you're wrong on that. No, absolutely right. Yeah.
I think I think Cincy covers, but I picked Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl this year, so I'm taking the Bills. I'm going to take it in a tight one. I just like Josh Allen. I think this guy
I agree.
is going to make the plays with his legs. I think that's going to be the difference. Having offensive linemen hurt in Cincy, I think is going to hurt
three of them. They got three. I think at least two of them. I'm sorry, Joe Williams is out, right? Is it?
Two guys are out definitely.
Yeah, Jonah Williams and Alex Kappa are out for today's game.
Right, Kappa was out.
So an already pass protection struggling offensive line is beaten up by losing two guys. So you're right. It's a tough move. But somehow, some way they did it last year. I just have the feeling they'll do it this year. But you're going the opposite, right? You're going to stick with the Bills, and you're probably more on the right side than I am on this one. But I'm gonna jump on this one.
It's a tough one, Tommy. I mean, I think both of these teams are definitely worthy.
You know what's funny? Real quick, Jeff said this week he's been harping on it for a couple of weeks now, and I want to tell him he's wrong, but it's funny he's not. He said, Tom, if you really wanted to look at it, the best game we could get for a Super Bowl right now with the teams that are all left would be Bengals and the Bills.
Right. He's right.
He said it can't happen. He said, but if they seeded this not based on conference, but based on record, and you got these two teams at the end, he said you'd be a happy guy, because he said realistically, anybody comes out of the NFC is going to be questionable going to the Super Bowl.
You're right. You're right. There's the way the NFC teams came into this, with the exception of the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers obviously came in strong. Yeah. But the Brock Purdy. I mean, if this guy comes out and plays solid today, then I think everybody will really say, hey, this is the real deal. But the way Dallas came in playing, and the way Philly came in at the end of the season, it's just.
And nobody's going to buy the Giants, because even if they get past Philly today and they somehow found a way to get past the Niners, it's going to be a question because of they were 9-7-1. People call for the head of the quarterback all season, but this reminds me of all that time of the Eli. Going into the Eli's first Super Bowl that whole year, all you heard was people wanted to get a new quarterback in.
Right,
everybody wanted a new quarterback. He was skittish. He couldn't handle the pressure. And then all of a sudden he went on a playoff run and he became, elite Eli. So I'm not telling you that's what I'm predicting here, but I'm just saying is nobody's going to buy into the Giants. So yeah, maybe if Brock Purdy has a couple big games and routes a couple teams along the way to the Super Bowl, it'll have more juice. But to me, the best game we could get right now, and I'm taking the Chiefs out of it because I'm not a big believer in the Chiefs, is Bills Bengals. I mean, I think these two teams can really play, and I think the whole missing the game has a chip on his shoulder for the Bengals. The Bengals thought, hey, we had a chance to either, actually get the number one seed. It certainly didn't have, wouldn't have to play the Ravens last week if we beat the Bills. And I think they have a chip that they could beat the Bills. So we're going to see. I think it's going to be a fun game tomorrow at 3:00. So make sure you guys watch that one.
Agree.
And we'll see how it plays out. And John's absolutely right. If Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over a ton of times, because he's really made a lot of those this year, trying to do too much, it's going to be a hard press for the Bengals to win. But I'll still take them. John, the final game for tomorrow night would be the Niners hosting the Cowboys. And again, we've been talking about it off and on, but this is a strange game. Is Brock Purdy going to keep showing up the way he is? Is he the new Kurt Warner? From coming out of the cornfields. Which Dak and Cowboys team is going to show up? You don't know. I mean, is Mike McCarthy's job on the line if they lose this and get blown out today? This is going to be an interesting game. A tale of two teams. Both teams are basically almost kind of, good defenses with a little bit with good offenses potentially, but a chance that both quarterbacks could really, really decide this game.
I agree, Tommy. I mean, I think, like I said earlier, I think there's more pressure on Dallas in this game than there is on the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers, with all the quarterback issues, we already knew they had a good defense. We already knew the weapons. But right in the beginning of the season, we didn't throw Christian McCaffrey in the mix.
No.
Which is, really puts these guys over the top.
Sure.
And, the quarterback issues are what's amazing. Have we seen in the history of this league a quarterback scenario to play it out like this?
No.
I don't ever remember one.
Amazing. No, I've never seen it. Bledsoe going down and Brady taking over is close, but to go from, Garoppolo was basically looking for a job, begging for a 1-year deal from the Niners because they were going to go with Trey Lance. Trey Lance gets hurt opening day. Garoppolo comes in, plays well. He breaks a foot, as he usually does. And then out of the cornfield comes Brock Purdy, and he wins 6 straight and looks like he's been doing this, for 10 years.
Right. It's
amazing. I've never seen anything like it. We're probably not going to see anything like it ever. And here's a guy who was Mr. Irrelevant and is out there. Now, again, just because where you get drafted doesn't equate to your talent level, but to do it this manner in your first, this isn't a guy who's hung around for 3 years. This is a guy who, barely got to the last page of the playbook yet.
Right. He's I was watching a few games and they were talking about his how heavily he's into the playbook and how much he studies the game and what these guys do. And I think they built the perfect team around him.
Sure,
for his talents, to be able to fit in there. And like I said, Christian McCaffrey's a guy that changes everything right there for me.
Is Brock Purdy the same quarterback that he is right now playing for the Texans or the Panthers? I tend to doubt it. When you got Ayuk, Debo Samuel, you got Kittle and McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell. That's a heck of a team right there. And so he wound up in the perfect spot on the perfect team. And we'll see if it rides past today. I mean, tomorrow it's going to be an interesting game. Again, we're picking it. I'm gonna have to take the Niners with the 4 at home. I just don't believe in Dak Prescott, especially in a big spot. I think Jerry Jones has got the voodoo doll hanging over his head. I don't see the Cowboys being that impressive after last week's game. I'm going to chalk that up to a bad Buccaneers team that basically I think they all knew that was coming to an end soon. And everybody was making phone calls already. So I'm taking the Niners to win this one. It'll be close. I don't think either team's blowing each other out. I think the Niners are doing enough to win this game. Cover, I think this will be a touchdown game.
I think it will be too, Tommy. I think it's going to be tight. And I think the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys, I've said this over the years, is Jerry Jones. I mean, he does everything that he does. It's just kind of like another Al Davis controlling. This team, is under that pressure year after year after year. Mm-hmm. And I think all the talent is there, but I think there's that key component, and I think it's Jerry Jones. I think Dallas goes in. I think they play a good game. I just think San Francisco defensively is too much for these guys. Dak's going to see pressure that he hasn't seen this entire season.
Yeah.
And then offset it with Christian McCaffrey and all those weapons. I mean, who do you key on here? You stop McCaffrey, you got Kittle, you got Debo, you got Ayuk. I think it's just too much.
It is. I'm a big believer in games like this that you stop the running game. If you force them to be one-dimensional, it gets a little easier. But if you can run the ball at McCaffrey or Mitchell, now you're starting to play tighter to the line of scrimmage, and you got to put an eye in the backfield. Where if you take that out of the way, if you take that weapon out of there and force them to be one-dimensional, and you put that game in the hands of this kid, you have a tendency, you have a chance to win the game that way. I just don't think you can. To me, the safe bet is to if you're the Niners, is to take away the passing game, and if run all day on you, less bad things can happen. So if I'm the Cowboys,
be a good game.
Yeah, if I'm the Cowboys, Christian McCaffrey is getting dumped on his ass every time he touches the ball, and anytime he comes near him, I'm hitting him and dumping him. So knock him down. Guys have been an injury machine the last few years. Been remarkably healthy this year. I'm taking the Niners. You got the Niners as well, right?
I'm taking the Niners as well. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be a good game. I think what we always say. It's going to come down to how Purdy handles the pressure.
Yep.
Really in this, both quarterbacks actually.
Absolutely, both quarterbacks in this one. I think both. How do both quarterbacks? I don't think this is a shootout. I don't believe this gets into the 30s. I think it stays in the 20s. But I think the Frisco defense will be a little too much. So I'm with you. We'll stick at that. And of course, you're watching the Sunday Audible. John Mahefka, Tom Floria here every Saturday or Sunday straight through the end of the season, and probably a week after the Super Bowl to break it down. So make sure you come back each week. We'll let you know days and times, but we're trying to make it steady Saturdays for right now to try to get Jeff involved. So who took the week off to build a banister. He's got some work being done in the house. So hopefully he'll be back with us next week. All right, so John, let's get to my game of the day. Of course, my New York Football Giants traveling down the turnpike to the House of Hell to the worst fans. Sorry, Eagle fans. Eagle fans are the worst fans in the league, and I don't mean that they don't support their team. I think that they should be behind barbed wire. They should probably have to watch the game virtually from their own house because they shouldn't even be allowed to be in the stadium because they're just animals. Honestly, listen. They built a jail in their stadium for a reason. They're animals, and unfortunately, if you're a Giant fan, I wouldn't go anywhere near the place.
Agreed, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'll bring up a quick story. I know my mom's listening, but we went to a preseason game in Philly at the Vet, and it was in a hurricane back in '76, Hurricane Bell. We had the real close seats. Preseason, the Steelers were in town, So we obviously had to go. And
Right.
with that hitting, they still played the game, back then in a hurricane,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But
Yeah.
the Eagles fans were welcoming to us. We sat up in the top, underneath underneath the roof, and I don't know if it was just the right situation, but that's probably one of the better stories.
Oh, I would tell you, Johnny,
But
you should write that down, send it to Reader's Digest or somebody, because that is one of the few ever good stories I've ever. I've been in the Vet and the Link. I don't know if it's the Link, but I've been in the new stadium, but way back. I've been into a bunch of football games there when I worked for Fox. Me and my boy Lou Pica, we were there for a Giants Eagles game. Randall Cunningham was quarterbacking the Eagles at the time, and Louis' job was to try to use the jugs gun, like checking speed of the ball to see how fast he was throwing the football. That was a big thing. How fast Randall Cunningham threw the football. And he was in the end zone. He tried like twice. It didn't work. There. All right, go ahead, go watch the game. He just sat there and watched the game. But the few times I've been there for Eagle Giant games, you really got to be incognito, because they will just abuse the piss out of you.
right.
And listen, I went to a Jets Seahawks game, and I was a big Brian Bosworth fan, so I had my Bosworth jersey on under my jacket, and I wasn't even rooting. I was just watching the game, and my buddy Frank Jefferson had to get up in the third quarter and leave because we were getting pelted with M&Ms for like the entire game. And we just said, fuck it, it ain't worth it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We're not even fan. So it's no different, but it's a special hell is Philadelphia.
Yep.
So, and Louis, that was fun. We had a lot of fun with that one, Lou. I see he's still listening.
If you have fans that throw snowballs at Santa Claus,
then
it's
it's a special breed of hell. Now, as far as that place goes, it's also a house of hell. The house of hell, because they've beaten the Giants. I think they're 24-6 against the Giants in the last 30 games. I think they've won 13 straight in Philly. I mean, this is, for whatever reason, this generation of Giants has just had a tough time playing there, even against some bad Philly teams. And again, the Giants have been bad too. So, does it change today? John, this is a tough game to pick for me.
right.
Because the Eagles of week 14, 15, maybe even week 16, before Hurts gets hurt, the Giants don't have a chance. They'll stick in it. I think it'll be closer than their first matchup, but I don't think they'd have a chance. But the Eagles of the last few weeks, even with Hurts back, did not look exceptionally well. I don't care what they tell me. He's not 100%. They took him off the injury report because they don't want the Giants smelling blood. And I think the Giants have an outstanding chance if they don't commit stupid penalties and they don't turn the ball over. This will be a close game late.
I think so too, Tommy. I mean, I've been thinking about this all week, saying, I think the Giants can get this done. I really do. The way that team played last week, and you need to be able to run the football. You need to be able to keep Hurts off the field.
Yep.
You need to be able to stop the running game, because Sanders is an excellent running back. I think they took him out the last couple of weeks, which is crazy. Using him.
And Boston Scott's a Giant killer. He's got 18 career touchdowns, 10 against the Giants.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. and then you got to stop Smith and AJ Brown. I mean, and there's Goddard's their tight end. This is a very tough team. It's going to come down to Hurts and Hurts making plays. So I get it. So this is not the same game. And on defense, they have two corners who are legit. This is not playing the Vikings. But I also saw that Eagle team that played week 18 that had to win. Maybe they were playing just enough to win. I don't know. But, if you're the Eagles in the last 3 weeks, you look kind of crappy, and then you got a week off, and now you got to turn the magic back on. If the Giants can keep it close or get out quick, this could change.
I think so too, Tommy.
Yeah.
I really think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to Daniel Jones. They got to keep him upright. He's got to be smart with the football, and he's got to slide. You can't take the big hits in this game, and he's just – listen, regardless of what happens today, Daniel Jones is a Giant quarterback going forward. I don't care if he shits the bed or not. He's done more than enough this season, and in his first playoff game, for me, 4-year deal, $120 million, $100 million with some guarantees. Daniel Jones, lock him up. He's your quarterback. He's better than anybody you're going to find in the draft and anybody you're going to find out there. But he's got to have a big day today and be smart with the football like he was last week. Throw it away when you ain't got nothing and hit the ground when there's nowhere to run. And it's a tough match. I'm taking the Giants to win this one. I honestly believe that they're playing with a lot of confidence. Hodgins has really turned himself into a guy who's trying to be a number one receiver. Richie James has done a nice job. I like Bellinger, but I think between Barkley and between Jones and Barkley getting to be more of a piece of this offense this week, Giants win this one 27-24, 27-23. Close game, obviously, but I just like the magic. I like the chemistry of this team and the way they're playing. I'm picking the Giants to win this one.
I'm going to take the Giants too, Tommy. And the reason is there's always in this divisional round, and when it gets deep in the playoffs, like I said, that bye week affects one of the two teams.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be Philly this week. I just don't – I haven't seen enough of Hurts over the last couple of weeks, like I said, with the injury and then coming back and not playing that well. And, I think it's going to throw these guys off. I think the Giants can run the football. I think if Jones doesn't make the mistakes, defense plays solid, I think it's going to be really tight. But I think this is going to be the upset of the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the big thing is going to be you're going to watch early. If Hurts is not running as he normally would be, then the shoulder's still bothering him. And I think with guys like Dexter Lawrence is having a great season. Pressure up the middle. Now he's got to face Kelsey, probably one of the best centers in the league. A guy who's given him fits for the last few years. But we're going to need Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence to get some serious pressure up the middle, and then hopefully Ojulari, if he plays, guys made a paper, and Kayvon Thibodeau stay in their lanes. If we could keep Hurts locked up, or he is not running the way he normally will, I think this will be a better matchup. If he runs wild, the Giants have no chance. Otherwise you're going to get into a shootout, and I'm not sure against that defense. They've brushed the passer really well. They stopped the run okay, and they got corners out there who can play. So the Giants can't get in a big shootout. You can score some points, but if you got to match them into the 30s, this is going to be a big problem for the Giants. So listen, I'm going to pick them. A part of it's my heart. I get it, but John, you're right. There's times in sports in general, but especially in football, where it's one game. When you're in a hockey series 7 games or World Series 7 games, the momentum can change game to game,
Right.
But in football, you got one shot. And if you come in flat, there's very little chance of fixing it,
Right.
And
exactly.
Right now, the Giants have the momentum. They have the confidence. They're playing with, and I don't even think they think they're playing with house money. I think they actually believe they can win right now. And I think it's been a fantastic job by the entire coaching staff. And, to me, the two big keys was Barkley and Jones have stepped up when people told them they couldn't step up. And I firmly believe that this Giant team is different. They could go out there today and shit the bed. It's a tough place to play. Right. But, Johnny boy, this is a big game.
There's got to be a time, too, Tommy, where they get this done. I mean, this is your menace. I mean, this is a divisional rival. And the Eagles are a great team. I mean, this is really hard, to pick. I had the Eagles one day, the Giants the next. I just think the Giants have the confidence this time. I think Daniel Jones, saw, hey man, I can win a playoff game.
Yeah,
and he played really well, poised. Yeah, he knows now that this is his team.
Yes, that's a big piece. You're 100% right. Yep.
That I like that. I like seeing that going into a playoff game where a lot of people aren't giving these guys a chance.
No,
and I like them going in that way.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be hopefully it's going to be a fun game. Hopefully it's going to be a close game. If it's a blowout, I hope it's in the blue favor because that would be fun. The other way would suck. But I really don't believe this is going to be a blowout either way. It comes down to Hurts' health because I definitely don't think that last game he was healthy. He dragged it out there. 2 weeks later, we'll see. But this is going to be a fun game. It's going to be a fun weekend, John. Lots of great football to watch. So I'm sure you'll be watching most of it with the puppy and Chrissy. You guys will be a lot of good football, a lot of good eating, and I'm looking forward to ourselves. So again, guys, I think we'll hold off anything else. I wanted to get maybe I'll give you one thing before you call. How could the Cardinals fire their coach, have a guy that you were trying to put a clause in his new contract that you were forcing him to spend a certain amount of time in the building, and then tell him he's going to have a say in the new coach? This is why the Cardinals might be one of the worst organizations out there. I shudder and shake my head, and thank God that they keep the same people there like they have in Dallas, because they'll have no chance to win. John, if you're running a business, the guy who basically caused you problems the last 2 years, he's not liked in his locker room. You got to force him to be in the building to learn and be a better quarterback, and you're paying him $200 million, and you're going to give him a voice on who the coach is. I just never going to understand it.
It doesn't make any sense, Tommy. I mean, it really doesn't. This guy, I think you've seen, glimmers of, a big time quarterback making a throws, but then you see those, head scratching things, the bad decisions, and like this. I mean, you're not in the. You need to be a quarterback needs to be the leader of that team, no matter what. He needs to be in the facility watching films and repeatedly making throws, understanding the playbook. And this guy hasn't done it. And he, making the decisions on who the head coach is now.
Yeah.
It's the who's running this organization? Is it the players?
This ain't Madden, boy. You're not playing Madden football. Last one. Lamar Jackson is a Raven next year, or is he moving on?
He's a Raven next year. I think so. I mean, I think I was listening to the guys talking. They've been wanting to bring in more of a passing scheme to this team, and I kind of think that's the Lamar Jackson that I want to see. I mean, you got a guy that uses his legs. I mean, he's one of the best running quarterbacks in the league, if not of all time.
Yeah.
But there's a window for that. There's a shelf life, and I think he's kind of hit that right now.
Yep.
They need to get this guy a big time receiver on the outside. You got Andrews, obviously. They run the ball well. If you could keep him healthy, I honestly think, Tommy, they beat the Bengals in that game if Lamar Jackson played.
I'm not disagreeing, but there's a reason why Marquise Brown, one of his best friends, begged to get traded off the team to go play with Kyler Murray. I mean, come on. It don't make any sense.
Crazy.
It don't make any sense, Sean. I don't know, guys. I don't know. We got a lot of football to get through this year, and we're glad that you guys are going to stick around. And thanks for tuning in today. Again, thanks to our guys over at hempwizard.net for, of course, our signature scent. Sunday
Great
Audible.
Stuff, man. Great stuff.
Great stuff. Go to hempwizard.net to buy their products, their beard and skincare products. I'm telling you guys, I placed a few orders. A couple days later, stuff's on your doorstep. And the rave reviews. My wife uses the strawberry switchblade skin lotion. She loves it. I got to buy her some more, as a matter of fact. And I've seen the reviews of the Sunday Audible online, and people love this stuff. Guy out in Denver gave it a double thumbs up. So good for Mike and Joe, and make sure you support them and you support us, and you come back every week. So guys, enjoy the games today and tomorrow. Probably it's our last big weekend of football. We got NFL champ. We got 2 Sundays left after this, so make sure. I want to get next week. We'll get into a little bit of the Pro Bowl talk. I'm actually a little excited about the Pro Bowl this year. No game, so we're not wasting our time. Some kill skills competition, a flag football game. I think the Legends are playing mixed in. So me and maybe John and I will get into that next week. Jeff poo-pooed Thursday. But I think this actually might make it somewhat interesting to watch. So
who would have thought we'd be talking about a flag football game?
It's a true
an NFL show. I mean,
it's crazy. But listen, John, we got to fill time. John, you got to fill time.
That's it, Tom.
All right. So listen, guys, we thank you guys for tuning in this week. It's been a blast so far. So make sure you enjoy the games today. 2 great ones today, 2 good ones tomorrow, and a great week of anticipation for the NFL Championship games next week. But come on back next Saturday. We'll do this all over again. Well, Saturday or Sunday, we'll talk about it. More than likely Saturday. So come back next Saturday. We do this all over again. So for John Marhefka, Jeff Tolwinski, and myself, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the games. So, everybody, take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everybody.